situation that happened in the past week or so, where LeBron James stepped up to Stephen A. Smith at a Laker game on the sideline and cursed him out about critiquing his son, Bronny James. What do you guys feel about that? I mean, do you agree with LeBron James for doing that? Was he just acting as a father, or do you think that Stephen A. Smith is somehow being harsh in his criticism? Or was he just doing his job? Well, Rod, what do you think about that so far?
Uh, yeah. I think Stephen A. was simply just doing his job because, really, as a father, you have to be a microcosm of a world that doesn't give a shit about you, and really, just the color commentating game is going to be full of critics who not only just like, I mean, they don't talk shit just for the sake of just talking shit. They analyze the game. They analyze the players. They analyze everything. And you know, if LeBron's gonna get upset, it's because he hasn't been that microcosm of that world who doesn't give a shit about his kids. So really, the only thing that really had to be done, that had to be done is just for Bronny to really just play the game as best as possible and shut Stephen A. up. You know what I mean? Like it's that result that counts a lot more. I can't necessarily shit on LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Because we're both fathers.
Don't worry, I'll do that for you. We continue.
We know you will. We know you will.
I mean, I can't necessarily, but then again, I can understand why anybody would. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, shit. I mean, we, as men, we've been taught to be, to toughen up. You know what I mean? We've been taught to toughen up even from a young age. So, whether it be from criticism or somebody trying you for real, you have to, like you just have to be resilient. You know what I'm saying? You have to be tough skinned. And yeah, LeBron in this instance, although I completely understand, he just wasn't as thick skinned as everybody paints him out to be. That's my take on that shit.
It was weak as usual. Skills Macker. Like you had something to say about it.
You can't shit on LeBron, but I can, my nigga. Knicks tape. Fuck the Cavs, fuck the Lakers.
Facts.
With that being said, son, you know what I mean? That shit was soft. My nigga. Stephen A. Smith was doing his job, yo. You know what I mean? And my thing is like this. Stephen A. did not say anything personal about Bronny James. And he even said on First Take numerous times that he purposely did not watch his high school games because he didn't want to talk about LeBron's son. You know what I mean? And LeBron James himself even said that he put his son in a terrible position, no diddy, by naming him after him. You feel me? And then not only did you name him after him, but then you forced your organization to draft him. You put your son in the fire. At least, look, you feel me? Like, this is like LeVar Ball, but on steroids. You feel me? And shout out LeVar Ball. I think he gets a bad rap for real. But with that being said, yo, you don't do no type of shit like that. You feel me? This is a common example that we can't take niggas nowhere. You know what I mean? You approach this nigga at the Lakers game. I know you have his number. I know Rich Paul has his number. I know what's the other dude? Maverick Carter has Stephen A. number. There were ways to do this where you could have did that off camera instead of verbally assaulting that man on his job. And I get it. You want to protect your seed, but my nigga, this is the life you chose. As a public figure, you can't cry about niggas talking about you. Coming from where we all come from, niggas gonna talk about you regardless. Whether you are doing well or you doing the opposite, niggas is gonna talk. You feel me? And if he ain't prepare his son for the reality of that, that's on you, my nigga. Like, I really think that was a terrible thing that he did for real. And I'm glad that it didn't escalate into a physical confrontation, but we already have a stereotype about us that we can't handle things rationally, and that confrontation is our first resort. Now, I'm not a father, so I can't really speak from a father perspective, but I am a black man. And as a black man, to see a black man do that to another black man on his job in front of the world to see, and doing that purposely, I thought that shit was OD, yo. To be honest with you, I don't like that shit at all. I think that this ain't, you feel me? This is basketball, my nigga. You gonna get touched, you gonna get talked about. You feel me? You could have raised him to play squash or some shit. Like, like if that's how we gonna carry it, yo.
Victor Rogers, the 33rd.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a huge amount to say about this
Don't
particular
worry,
topic,
I'll fill up the time.
which is surprise, because I know I usually have a symposium on most topics. Because I mean, I've seen it talked about enough at this point from multiple perspectives, and I also think Stephen A. did a great job of really explaining his standpoint and his understanding of the response, both on First Take, but also on his radio show and also on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. So I've heard it discussed enough, you know what I mean, to where it's like I have a clear understanding, and I feel like that absolutely Stephen A. was doing his job. But also, as Stephen A. himself said, he understands the why to LeBron's response. You know, Stephen A., a father himself, as I said, he understood the why. I think that LeBron absolutely, as he said himself, you know, he's put Bronny in a very difficult situation, but he also understands that if Bronny wants to, you know, achieve a certain level of success in the league as a player, that you can't necessarily shy away from the difficultness of the situation. And part of why he's in that situation isn't only because of how his father went about manipulating the draft of things, but you know, Bronny got hurt twice in high school. He played about a year and a half and 4 years of high school healthy, and then he got to USC and he had the cardiac event. So it's not that he doesn't have the skill and the talent. It's just that he didn't have the maturation and the gestation period that was needed for him to actually become a professional. And so that's a combination of you know, just injury mishaps, the heart thing, and also LeBron, quite frankly, you know, operating a certain degree, really a large degree of nepotism. But my thing with that, and something Stephen A. has also pointed out very eloquently, is that white people do this shit all the time. Nobody was up in arms when the Mannings did it. Like, white people do this all the time. And so LeBron has the power to do that, more power to him. But once you put him in that position, you can't coddle him. You can't try to protect them. And so Stephen A. was doing his job. But on the flip side of it, you know, I understand his response was a father response, as LeBron said. And as someone who's a father, and especially someone who's a father whose children are in the same profession as me, there have been times when I've come to the defense where I've been protective. It just wasn't in as a public a fashion. And I think that was the part that LeBron really should not have done it so publicly. But I understand when somebody comes for your youngins and you feel like they've been dealt an unfair shake, that, you know, you will get defensive about it. And that's not the professional response. That's the father response. So I think that LeBron's response from a professional standpoint, from a brand standpoint, was wrong, but the inspiration to the response as a father was the right response. He just went about it in the wrong way.